is inevitable. We are all aging. And for those lucky enough to still have their parents with them, our parents are aging. And there are things that go hand in hand with aging, including physical challenges, sometimes cognitive decline. At some point, for some of us, there may be a real need to step in and support your parents in lots of ways, but maybe support your parents in terms of managing their finances. How do you determine when that time has arrived? That is the focus of our next conversation. Aman Raina is an investment coach and founder of Aging Parent Finances, and he joins us to dig into this rather touchy question. Hello, Aman. How you doing?
Very good, Bruce.
I say touchy question. It was not a touchy conversation with my parents. I lost my mom recently, but there was nothing touchy about it. My dad's still, alive and well.
Mm.
In some families, though, the circumstances are very, very different and it can be fraught. So if I've outlined a continuum there, you have personal experience with your dad. Tell us a bit about your experience.
Well, about 6 years ago, we're just moving along and everything, and one day I get this call out of nowhere from my father, and he was frantic. He was panicking. He was talking about, "Oh my God, I'm in trouble. I owe people money, and I don't know what to do," which was very strange because my father was fairly financially responsible in that sense. So, and he was living in Ottawa, and I'm living in Toronto, so I happened to go see him later on and went through everything. And it just looked like it was just basically like his credit card bill wasn't paid, his cable bill wasn't paid. And I was explaining it to him, like, because he's always been doing this, that, you just need to make your payments and do all, do the things you're normally doing. And he says, okay, I understand. But then a couple of days later, I get another call and same thing. I'm panicking, I owe money, and I'm going, wait a minute, there's something not right here. And so then I started talking with my mom about it, and then we just determined we needed to get him tested out. Something wasn't right there. And sure enough, I had a meeting with his doctor, and basically he was very blunt with me. And he said, your father is suffering from dementia. He is not going to get better. He is eventually going to become incompetent, and you need to take control of his financial affairs immediately. It was so blunt, and that started the journey.
What did that feel like for you?
I still feel it. Like I still have moments
Mm.
where I flash back to that moment where the doctor told me all this, and it just shook me because at that moment you realize that you are now having to take that responsibility right there. And the thing is, with me, with my background and experience, navigating through all the financial, maneuvers and everything like that around there was a little work, but you still had to do it. But as I started encountering people in different areas of, from the financial side of it and just from the healthcare side of it, I encountered so many support groups that people were struggling. They did not know where to start. It was just all of these responsibilities just thrust upon them.
Mm.
They don't know where the bank accounts, they don't know how much their parents have and all that. And it's just the stress level was incredible.
In your telling of it, at least, the period of time from whoop, this could be an issue to a dementia diagnosis and you needing to leap in was relatively short. For some kids with adult parents, it could be a much, much more prolonged experience in which the signs really are not clear. There's no frank and tough conversation with a doctor. It's ambiguous, it's
Yes.
unclear. What are some of the signs that people should be on the watch out for?
I think there's a couple that come out to play. One is just the general compulsiveness, the compulsive nature. Like the conversation I just shared with you was a very compulsive kind of conversation. And as conditions progress, they become more compulsive. You also start to see some element of social withdrawal. Like my parents had a very large social circle, integrated with a lot of people in their community. But over time, they just sort of, and especially with my father, and that's not uncommon, started to withdraw a bit, started to withdraw from people that he was very close with. And eventually, it brought my mom into it. And as you know, then at that time, COVID was not far behind there, right?
Mm.
And so that element you add to it just brought that. Those are the two kind of big, definitely signs to watch out for. Yeah.
Was your father willing to accept your help?
That is the probably one of the biggest battles. It's not just so much my father also, because when my father was thinking, I'm okay, it's all good. And my mother is thinking, ah, he's just getting old. And that side. So there's a huge, and this is the one thing, it's just you have to climb a huge barrier to try to convince your loved ones, and it's not just your loved ones, it's your circle around you, your family, because you're not doing this in a bubble, um, that we need to take further steps. We need to start taking a little bit more responsibility of things to do that. And it can be, there's all kinds of barriers, and some of it is cultural, and some of it is just, the embarrassment. They just don't want to admit to something, having a problem, don't want to embarrass themselves around their social circles. And so that's one of the greatest struggles, is trying to, I don't want to say overcome it, but because I don't
Mm.
think you can, but I think it's just making people aware and saying it's okay. It's okay to get help.
There is a continuum in terms of what that help looks like. So at this far end is like, I'm your power of attorney for finances and I'm going in. And then there's the lighter, like, hey, I'm going to call you on the 25th of the month and we're going to pay your credit card bill together. It'll be so fun. And then we'll go to Tim Hortons together. What are some of the other examples of what that help could look like that are within those two extremes?
It's just really checking in. It's just trying to check in. And the thing, and this is the struggle also now, it's from my perspective, from my experience, it's not just I'm dealing with my parents. I got two boys, I got two young boys, I got a wife, I got a family, I got a career, I'm trying to build up a practice, all of these elements. So it's organization now becomes almost a critical element. It's really about the check-ins, but with life kind of moving around, with a lot of balls flying in the air, it can become very challenging, very problematic, even though you need to be doing stuff. And this is where, when from a caregiver perspective, that's where all the additional stresses and the burdens come in. So if anything, it's just building some kind of discipline amongst all of the hurricane that's going on around you to
Yeah.
keep fighting at it, because it just wears you down.
Yeah. The conversations are so critical, and as we know, they can be fraught. The logistics can be enormous. There are also some practical considerations to think about in terms of where you may be breaching agreements with financial institutions. So the example that just comes to mind, and I bet you've got others, is passwords. So you can't, as an individual, whether you're cognitively compromised or not, you can't hand out your credit card and give people your password. That's not the way
Mm,
that works.
right,
So I think some kids are like, oh, it's fine. I'll just get their password to their online banking and I'll run everything myself. But
right.
that's not the way it should work. So, what are the ways in which it should work so you're on side with the rules and regs for the banks?
I think one of the things that helped me before we even had to cross that bridge was, and I think it was just a certain element of proactiveness, in the sense that and it was my father who kind of said to this. He says, I have an account here and I have an account here. Can we add you so you're a joint account here? So you do have that formal, official access to things. And so he did that. He actually, before, well before then, that's what I'm saying. He was very financially responsible. He was
Mhm.
thinking that way, to include me, saying, hey, I want to add you here. I want to add you here. I want to, here are receipts that I have, that, for things that I pay for and stuff like that. I had a very kind of high level, but you don't really pay attention to it. You're going, yeah, okay, Dad, sure, thanks. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, right? And then you get there, and then again, I look back on it, I go, I'm so fortunate in that sense to have been able to had those ducks lined up a little bit. You still
Mhm.
have to go through the muck of, interacting with the institutions, with the banks and everything like that. They still want to see your power of attorney and all that stuff, which is the critical document to open your doors to enabling you to act on behalf of your parents and everything. And it definitely, like, I look back on it, it's definitely, and I'm still dealing with it. It's not
Yeah.
in the past. I'm still in motion with it.
Yeah.
So that's one element that's a critical piece to look at proactively.
You have two significant advantages. One is your willingness to wade in there, and I'm sure your relationship with your parents, makes that easier than for someone who's estranged from their parents. Secondly, you have some skills. Got an MBA, you kind of know this world. There are many Canadians who have neither of those two things. Let's
Yeah.
deal with the skills thing first. What do you do if this is not an area of strength for you in your own life?
I think that's the nature of what I've been trying to do. This whole experience has just kind of empowered me to personally try to create something to enable people to at least have an ability to cope with this because there's a lot of balls you got to juggle here. And so with what we've done here with aging parent finances is to create um, sort of that checklist in a sense, that mental checklist of items that you need to kind of pick off as you're going along, types of conversations you need to have as you go along, types of documents that you might need to have in preparation for it. And it's not the magic formula, but when you're starting with zero, anything, it's just about at that point, you're people that I've worked with just feel helpless and they just need something to know, hey, I can get to the other side of it. I know
Mm.
it's going to be painful and I know there's going to be a lot of emotional and physical challenges around it. But having some kind of framework and approach to collecting types of documents I need to go look for, types of what kind of questions I might need to ask a lawyer, what questions I might need to ask my father's financial advisor if he has one, or an accountant if they have one. Just having those organized elements
Mm.
is just the starting point.
Really interesting stuff. Aman, thank you for joining us today to talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Aman Raina is an investment coach and founder of Aging Parent Finances. And he was here to talk about, first of all, his personal experience with his dad, but second of all, kind of a call to action for adult kids everywhere to try and get ahead of this, to mitigate some of the concerns that their parents may be dealing with when it comes to money.